Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the internet and welcome to my channel. It's me, Odio, and I'm back again today to do a review for you. And this one's a really old Blu-ray, Justice League, The New Frontier. Ho ho, it's awesome. Let's get into it. So Justice League, The New Frontier is one of my older Blu-rays for sure. This one's from 2008. And this was like before the whole DCU and all this stuff like that. It was just when they were doing animated movies. And this is, I think, one of the first Justice League ones outside of Justice League Unlimited and the TV show. And it's really good. It takes place at a very, in the past, I think around the 60s. They're talking about McCarthyism and stuff at one part. But it's the beginning, before all the Justice League was together, they used to be the Justice Society. The Justice Society was disbanded about 10 years ago. Our Man is dead. You know, there's a whole other backstory to that. But right now, all the heroes are kind of doing their own thing. So when we open it up, you get it's really cool intro. So the villain in this is called the Center. It's an ancient being that lives at the center of the earth, down at its core. It was here before dinosaurs and everything. And it can impose its will. It almost has like a Cthulhu style vibe to it. But people are losing their mind. There's a guy who writes a story called The Last Story and just shoots himself at the end of it. Holy cow. I was like, wow, this movie's going for it. So that's how it starts off. And it's kind of like, well, what's going on? Who is this Center? Is it real? And as we get going, you get every character kind of introduced. So we get a Hal Jordan Green Lantern in this, and his story is extremely flushed out. You're going to get before he was even a pilot in the army. You're going to see all his actions. It really goes through his whole backstory. By the end of this, you have a fully flushed out Hal Jordan character. You know how he becomes Green Lantern, how he gets the ring, how he gets the powers, why he doesn't really know how to do it. Really, really good. And you get to see Abin Sur when he passes, and you get to see the ring go on to Hal, but he doesn't get a chance to explain how to use the ring. So you get the Watchers kind of show up at one part and just start talking to him. It was great, and he has a pretty big part by the end of it. It's also really awesome to see the introduction of Martian Manhunter. He gets brought here by an accident. Some guy was trying to send a message to Mars, and he ends up coming down, and he's stuck here. He takes that guy's form, tries to live a life. It's really cool. You see him watching TV. He turns into Bugs Bunny and stuff at one point. Then he becomes a detective, and he has all these hunches for solving cases because he can read minds. It was great. I really liked his character. He wants to go back to Mars, tries to get on a ship at one point that goes back to Mars, gets captured by the government, and they do a lot to make the government look very villainous in this, just captures him. They try to capture Flash at one point too, but at the end of the day, Martian Manhunter doesn't want to leave because he doesn't really have anywhere to go, right? So, but his story is great, and they do a really good job fleshing it out, his interactions with the government, how he gets here, and how he gets to become the way he is. Also, really cool to see Superman. He gets introduced. He's wearing the old Max Fleischer Superman suit with the black S on it and stuff. And he's in some kind of jungle looking for Wonder Woman. And I don't know if Wonder Woman, when she gets introduced, Superman is still, the schoolboy, truth, justice, the American way and everything. So he runs into Wonder Woman in the jungle. Well, Wonder Woman's got something going on. So when Superman finds her, he comes across this village of a lot of murdered people. There's a lot of corpses there. I don't know what was going on. So he goes in to talk to Wonder Woman, and they're all celebrating. And he's like, Wonder Woman, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I found these women. They're being held hostage. So I didn't kill anyone. I took all the men's weapons, put them in a clearing, then freed all the women. And then, Superman's like, what? They murdered them all? She's like, yeah, well, they were being dicks to him, right? And he's just like, you just watched as they just killed them all? What about the loyalty oaths and stuff we signed? This is what they were afraid of, us being vigilantes. Wonder Woman's like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. They were mistreating them. Why don't you go ahead and leave, schoolboy? And then she just stands up, and Superman's like, all right. So he goes, and he he goes back home. But yeah, she comes in pretty harsh. At first, I was like, oh, she must be affected by the Center, but she was pretty hardcore back in the day, so maybe that's just the way she was, right? So, super interesting scene to see. Like I said, they don't mind showing real violence and stuff like that, so it's interesting. And then we get Barry Allen, the Flash, and he's there with Iris West, of course. You get him introduced. He was never in the Justice Society, so he's like a whole new character, just like Green Lantern. He gets a pretty fleshed out backstory. At one point, he's fighting criminals. Another point, the government's trying to capture him and he has to escape. And another point, he's joining the Justice League and a whole bunch of things in between. So it's really good to see him, and he has a big part in the final battle, but his character gets fleshed out really nicely too. And the big villain here, the Center, is voiced by Keith David. Oh, he does a fantastic job. He sounds villainous, ominous, scary. You're like, man, I don't want to mess with the Center. And at one point, we get our final introduction, Batman. There's a whole cult trying to steal a kid and sacrifice him. So Batman comes in and fights them all and tries to save the kid. The kid gets really scared, like, oh no, Batman, no. And Batman's like, oh. He ends up changing his suit later on, which is, you get a really cool moment with him and Superman. He says, I made my suit to scare villains, not children. So he changes it so he looks more like a hero, more of the classic suit with the symbol on it, not as dark and brooding, but still very Batman-y, right? So as the movie goes on, the Justice League has to deal with all these little things happening in society, like a cult popping up here and there, someone trying to kill someone else here, a group of people trying to steal things there, and you're like, what is going on? It's the Center, exerting influence upon everyone. And the last story, that's the story at the beginning, kind of says how he's going to destroy everyone and take over the world, because he's been around for so long. He thinks humans are basically like a disease on the world, and he's going to be the cure. So when the Center finally comes up to the surface way later on in the movie, it's huge. It's like a 25-mile long island, and it's like uber powered. It's shooting out dinosaurs and stuff, and you get little radio contacts and news stories throughout the movie kind of hinting at what it's going to be, but my god, when you finally see it and the giant dinos just shooting out all over it, it's quite the sight. And they start by saying, like, Superman's like, well, I'm going to lead this new league. Don't worry. I'll go check it out. We'll see how we stop this thing. He flies out to take a look at the Center and just gets blasted. And literally, that's the end of him. He falls in the water and does not come back. And everyone's just like, oh god, is Superman gone? What are we going to do now? And the rest of them are like, we're going to have to all team up together to defeat this thing. So the Flash, Green Lantern, Batman, Wonder Woman, even the Atom comes in at one point, and they're using his little shrinking devices. They all have to team up together to take on the Center. It's an awesome final battle. Dinosaurs flying out. Wonder Woman just like chopping them in half. She's got her sword and shield in this. Green Lantern not really knowing how to use his powers, flying a jet in there to attack the Center. You get some real psychedelic scenes of the Center defending himself. And every character gets a big part in the final battle. And they have to all work together to defeat him. Oh my god, it was great. Like I said, this was a story. It was so interesting right out the gate. It just compels you to keep watching it. And you're not sure which part the Center's controlling or not controlling. Can they stop him or not stop him? Like, what heights of evil will it reach? And after the final battle's over, Superman, of course, does come back. He's not dead. And you meet Aquaman right at the end, too. So now the whole gang's together so they can start some Justice League movies going forward. I gotta say, it's from 2008, but the animation's a little bit dated, but I've been watching this Tomorrowverse stuff, and let me tell you, this is way better. I had a lot more fun with this. I really like the look of all the characters, especially the Max Fleischer Superman. I love that suit. And I liked how everyone looked, really, and you get really good fights, strong animation on the battles, and you get a conclusion that's just awesome. And like I said, the voice acting's great. Keith David as the Center, he stands out. Whenever you hear the Center talking or influencing people or making them do evil things, you hear his nice baritone, strong voice. It adds a level to it that's just great. Overall, I honestly, I'd probably give this movie about an 8 out of 10. It's a little bit too violent. It's a little bit too bloody, but I do really like it. So 8 out of 10 on the odometer for this one. And definitely, it's a Blu-ray you should check out, or a DVD if you can find it anywhere. It's not too long a movie, and it's definitely worth your time. It started up the old DC animated Justice League universe, and it's a great thing to go back and take a look at to see where they came from and where they are now. But awesome, guys. Thanks so much for watching this far. I really, really appreciate that. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video. And remember, everybody, stay out of trouble.